Larry Holder, Herbie Teope here at your second practice, and the Saints' second practice back here at their Metairie facility during training camp. And let's just start off injury notes real quick. We saw a couple of guys leave practice, not sure how serious they are, but there are two guys who are pretty frontline guys.
Especially center Max Unger.
Right.
You know, starting center Max Unger, and you also had the defensive lineman
Kasim
Edebali also walked off, and supposedly it's a cramp. We don't know. Obviously, the Saints don't really go too much into injuries, but we'll see. You know, they have at least a good, solid week to rest up, heal up before the start of the regular season.
And yeah, of course, they had their preseason game in the Superdome on Friday against the Steelers. And I wanted to chat with you just a little bit, kind of to tease, because you're doing a profile on Dennis Allen in our special section that's going to come out soon. And what were some of your impressions? Because I know you've covered him in your previous job pretty regularly, with him being a former Oakland Raiders coach, and you covered the Chiefs before he got here, but you had a chance to kind of get into his head a little bit. We're obviously seeing improvements on defense, so he's obviously getting some of this job done already.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will tell you, just from watching this team from afar, one of the things you notice with the Saints defense is they gave up a lot of yards, they gave up a lot of passing yards, and quite frankly, they weren't really that good. Now you've got an attacking style with Dennis Allen. And so, talking to some of the players, even talking to some of his former players with the Denver Broncos, they're all saying what you're going to get with him is an aggressive attack style defense. And I think you see that out here. You saw a lot of that in West Virginia. Fans are seeing it a lot through 2 preseason games, and certainly 2 straight days now that I've been out here. Dennis Allen's defense really gets after it against the offense.
And of course, he's got ultimate confidence from Sean Payton, since they're so close-knit. But what has, in your short period of time here, what has kind of stood out to you as far as even just the tempos of practice? I know you noted something on Twitter yesterday how it really kind of stood out to you.
Yeah, covering the Chiefs, and I mentioned this yesterday, covering the Chiefs under Andy Reid, their training camp practices are notoriously physical. I mean, they really do hit. Coming out here, I was like, wow, I'm watching the Chiefs practice, but that's basically what it is out here. These guys are getting after the ball, and I think it's because the players are buying into what the coaching staff is selling them, especially on defense. When you hear some of these defensive players come out there and talk about what Dennis Allen is bringing, they're buying into it, and that only bodes well because they're not fighting with each other.
So, look, we're going to see preseason game number 3, the most important preseason game for the starters, important game for the offense, specifically with O-line. Zach Strief talked really adamantly today about there's no excuses. They're just not playing as well. You could say Pete hasn't played next to him, or they're just moving guys around. I think they know this is going to be an important one for them.
It's going to be an important game because, just like you mentioned, this offensive line has struggled through 2 preseason games. Drew Brees has taken some brutal hits, I mean, especially last week against the Houston Texans. So whether Max Unger is ready for the start of the season, if he's not, some of these struggles could carry over.
Yeah, and we'll monitor his progress as we go along each day. And of course, you can check out all of our coverage of all things Saints at NOLA.com, and our print editions of the Times-Picayune as Friday night, first home preseason opener, first game for you. So that'll be a fun time for you.
Let's do this.
Bring a sweater in the press box. So for Herbie, for Larry, thanks for joining us here on Facebook Live.